Good morning and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for Monday, February 4th, 2019.
Commissioner Garcia, Cabello, and Davis are present. Vice President Cabello, we do have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Sanitation.
Sherry Kuroki, Bureau of Sanitation.
Richard Saragumba, Street Lighting.
Brett McReynolds, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Sonia Alvarez, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Vice President Cabello, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment. We also do not have any commentary under the Neighborhood Council comment section. We do not have any speaker cards on any of the items for today's agenda as well.
Okay, hearing no speaker cards on general public comment, let's close public comment and let's close the Neighborhood Council commentary as well. This is the first meeting I'm chairing, so I ask for all of your patience. But thank you. And so let's go to the first item of business. Approval of the minutes of the meeting of Monday, January 7th, 2019. Is there a second to my motion to approve the meeting? Seconded by Commissioners Davis and Garcia. Any objections? Hearing none, those minutes have been approved. This takes us to the first item on our agenda. Item number 1, personal services contracts, various wage standards enforcement, and city labor standards projects. Recommending the board 1, approve the proposed personal services contracts for the pre-qualified on-call for community and business outreach consultants. The consultants will provide as-needed services for various wage standards enforcement and city labor standards projects for a period of 3 years. The 10 PQOC community and business outreach consultants are Center for Living and Learn, Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights of LA, Community Partners for LA Black Worker Center, Economic Roundtable, Garment Worker Center, Imprenta Communications Group, Korean Immigrant Workers Alliance, the Regents of the University of California, Restaurant Opportunity Center, Warehouse Worker Resource Center. And 2, authorize the President or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract subject to the approval of the Mayor. Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Good morning. Kimberly Fitzpatrick with the Bureau of Contract Administration. Vice President Cabello, Commissioners, Bureau Executives, Mr. Jordan. My name is Kim Fitzpatrick. As I said, I'm the Division Manager of the Office of Wage Standards in the Bureau of Contract Administration, and I'm here today to recommend for your approval a pre-qualified on-call community and business outreach consultants list for various wage standards and city labor standards outreach projects. This proposed pre-qualified on-call list is the result of a request for qualifications that was approved by the board October 1st, 2018. The RFQ was created in order to replace the existing 3-year list, which expires this May. These on-call lists enable the Bureau to comply with the direction provided by the City Council and Mayor through the minimum wage ordinance itself, which explicitly directs the BCA to implement a community-based outreach program. If the list is approved, the Bureau will continue to utilize our community partners to perform direct outreach to employers and employees in languages, industry sectors, and geographic locations where the Bureau may not have expertise or cultural competencies. In response to the RFQ, 11 responses were received. 1 was found to be non-responsive, and 10 were evaluated and are now recommended for approval. These 10 consultants represent a diverse group of organizations with outreach expertise, linguistic and cultural competencies, and knowledge of industries that are high risk for wage violations. With your approval, the Bureau looks forward to partnering with these organizations to provide education and outreach to ensure that employees and employers in all corners of the city and of all backgrounds are informed and protected. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Hearing none, is there a second to my motion to adopt item 1 and refer to the Mayor forthwith? Seconded by Commissioner Davis. Any objections? Hearing none, the item is adopted and sent to the Mayor forthwith.
Thank you.
Item number 2 in Council District 5, revised task for solicitation number 98-009, groundwork monitoring and related services for the Western District Refuse Yard. Recommending the board authorize the city engineer to issue a revision to the task for solicitation number 98-009 to Converse Consultants increasing the budget authority from $52,075 to $142,075 for continued groundwater monitoring and related services. Mr. Schmidt.
My name is Mike Mulhern. I'm a geologist with the Geotechnical Engineering Division, Bureau of Engineering. This site is in West Los Angeles off of Stoner Avenue. There were up to 15 underground tanks. Most of them had leaked at one time. Those have all been removed along with the associated piping. We have been groundwater monitoring over the last several years, and we have kind of a larger increase this year, mostly for the contingency. We received a letter from the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and even though they were happy with our work, they want more aggressive remediation now. We had just been limited skimming to make sure nothing moves. Fortunately, we had a contingency last year to have the consultant prepare a remedial action plan, or RAP. They're working on that right now, but we'll need a slightly larger contingency for pilot tests, permitting, and some design work, which I hope to take through the end of this year. So this approval this year will allow us to do all that, and then any actual remediation I anticipate going on next year's budget about this same time. We also have budgeted 2 well replacements. The concrete gets kind of eaten up with the heavy trucks out there, so that's the amount of increase that we're looking at here. The actual NTP is only about 1,000 more from last year, but we're, like I say, we're increasing the contingency for this remedial design work. Other than that, we're a little low on the business inclusion program, but we hope to increase that once we get going on this remedial action plan. There'll be more opportunity for drillers, samplers, and also lab work.
Commissioners, any questions?
I wanted to ask, in terms of our plan for business inclusion in the future, do we have an estimated idea of what we aspire to achieve in the future in these areas that you mentioned that are possibilities for us?
Yes, at the minimum, we'll do what for example, the 13% MBE. We've already exceeded the WBE, but we'll achieve at least the minimum, and I'm hoping a little bit more. Sometimes these projects, the actual
Would that be
consultants-
for additional accomplishments for increasing women business enterprises, or would it be to further develop minority business enterprises? Which of the two are you referring
minority.
to? Minority business,
Yes,
okay.
actually, we've almost doubled our quota right now for the women, but we will concentrate on minority and EBE
Great.
for future work.
Great.
Commissioner Garcia?
Thank you, Vice President Cabello. I have a question regarding the scope. It says here that one of the reasons why we need to do further testing is because we had leaking diesel fuel tanks.
Yes.
Do we have a plan of action so that won't happen again?
Yes, those tanks have already been removed, in fact, several years ago, plus all the associated piping, and they were replaced with double-walled up to the present standard tanks years ago, so that won't happen again. But the remaining diesel and associated contamination in the ground usually takes quite a while to both study and to remediate.
Got it, understood. Thank you.
Okay, no further questions. Is there a second to my motion to adopt the item and send it forthwith? Commissioner Garcia seconds. Any objections? Hearing none, the item is adopted forthwith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, subcontractor substitution, United Engineering and Construction. Recommending the board concur with the action of Commissioner Davis, approving the request of United Engineering and Construction, Inc. for the subcontractor substitution of Environmental Remediation Services, Inc., doing business as ERSI, with Benya Construction Services, Inc., doing business as Benya Demolition, for the hazmat removal, building demolition, and removal work, and Asbestos Control Testing, Inc., doing business as ACT, Inc., to perform the asbestos removal work on the North Spring Street Bridge Phase 2 federal project. Mr. Espindola.
Good morning. George Espindola with the Bureau of Contract Administration. The Bureau received a request on December 20th, 2018, from United Engineering and Construction Incorporated to substitute their approved subcontractor, Environmental Remediation Services Incorporated, DBA ERSI, a OBE contractor, for hazmat removals, building demolition, and removal work with Peña Construction Services, DBA Peña Demolition, another OBE contractor, and Asbestos Control Testing, Incorporated, DBA ACT, another OBE contractor. A certified letter was sent to Environmental Remediation informing them of United Engineering Construction Incorporated intentions to substitute them, and that they had 5 business days to submit in writing to the Bureau of Contract Administration their objections to this action. Environmental Remediation Services did not respond to the letter. However, Environmental Remediation Service did communicate to Bureau staff that they closed their California offices via email. The listed amount for Environmental Remediation Service is $222,175. The amount submitted for approval for Peña Demolition is $164,700 and $115,800 for ACT Incorporated, for a total of $280,500. United Engineering will reduce its participation by $58,325. Therefore, this substitution is at no cost to the city. The Bureau concurs with the recommendation of Commissioner Davis to approve the substitution.
Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Motion to send item forthwith and adopt is moved by Commissioner Davis and seconded by Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you.
This takes us to our 4th item, an oral report from the Bureau of Engineering, Construction Services Contract, also known as Cisco, update. Before, Mr. Kopp, we have you speak. We do have an item for public comment. Ms. Leah Renee Memsick, please step forward.
Hi, my name is Leah Renee Memsick, and I'm following up on a sanitation request number 160642. And the reason this is so important is it's on the Pacific Palisades Coastal Bluffs. It was found in June 2016 that there was a public sanitary sewer that was broken and missing gaps. It had breaks at 11 feet.
Commissioner, I'm sorry to interrupt. She's not speaking on agenda item number 4,
I
which is
am.
on
It's
this.
about your contracts.
The construction services contract,
Yes.
also known as Cisco.
Yes, here it is, right here. Here's your contract. Listen, it's a dangerous condition of program.
Ma'am, may I, why don't we go ahead and hold item number 4 on the desk and reopen general public comment so you can go ahead and have, speak on the item, whether it's related or not. So go ahead.
So you're putting this under general public comment. All right. So then I'm bringing you to, it's occurred a second time. On the Coastal Bluffs in track number 10179, you have a public sanitary sewer easement. I brought you all copies, and there is no plan. The LADBS and city planning have omitted the public sanitary sewer, so they're excavating a 45-foot cut below your public sanitary sewer and the manhole, and there's no plan for it. I brought you all the plans. I did make you copies, and I got them on Friday. I want to believe that your system is working, but there's no grading plan to include your public sanitary sewer. So here you have, a hillside that's documented and moving through your Bureau of Engineering, and you're dumping raw sewage into the hillside. And now you have a contractor on top of the bluff with this huge heavy equipment putting in walls. And by the way, one more thing is when you're down at 283 Trino Way and you look up, you see these big walls and you think they're holding back the slope. They're fake. If you go behind them, there's 3 feet to 5 feet of empty space. Nothing's holding up the hillside. I happen to own one of the properties at upslope, so I look down and I can see the big gap. And then the contractor says, well, they're working fine. And he misleads you and misleads the people. So the reason that's so important is because you had a request to fix this. You paid a couple $100,000 in June 2016, and it went through August, or September 2016, and the contractors never put in the fact that they found a fault and an adverse geological condition on this 283. They actually put it as 285 Trino, but you have multiple addresses for it. It's commonly known as 283 Trino Way. So my ask today is please immediately have Bureau of Sanitation video the public sanitary sewer and see if it's still dumping raw sewage, if there's more breaks,
2
and
minutes.
take action to repair the public sanitary sewer so you don't cause a catastrophe and a landslide. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Memsick. Is there someone from the Bureau of Sanitation that can follow up with her, or that we can actually refer her to?
I'll take her information. If you could stay after the meeting, I'll take
Yes.
down your
Yes,
information so I
definitely.
could find out who to refer to in sanitation.
Thank you.
And I brought you all copies, and I will hand them to you through Fernando. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now go back to item number 4. We'll give Ms. Memsick some time to clear up her stuff. And Mr. Kopp.
Thank you. Good morning. David Kopp, Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division, here to provide the quarterly update for the Cisco 10 contract, which is the 10th iteration of a 15-year plus program to provide on short order capital improvements and repairs to within the Bureau's Clean Water Infrastructure Program, which mainly serves to implement capital improvements for the Bureau of Sanitation's infrastructure. We're talking collection systems, odor control facilities, pumping plants, water reclamation plants, and on occasion some stormwater improvement projects. This is a competitively bid contract, just to get into a little bit of the background here, where contractors are, or prospective bidders are to bid on the contract ceiling of $15 million in the case of this contract without a known scope of work. So typically their bid is applied to the contract ceiling with respect to their overhead and profit. And so the contract is awarded to a bidder which has the residual highest value to city. So in other words, that contract ceiling, $15 million, less the overhead and profit. So in this case, the Cisco 10 contract was awarded to Murray Company back March 21st, 2018. So we're a little less than 30% through the contract duration, which is important to keep in mind as I go through the project metrics to date, relative to the last quarterly update. And the Cisco contract, it's unique with these other contracts that we have for the capital improvement program in the respect that we have a contractor mobilized that can implement on short order construction works shortly after preparing plans and specifications. In this case, the Environmental Engineering Division negotiates directly with the Cisco contractor to provide the work at the best value to city. So there are 2 levels of cost controls, the first being the initial award authorized by your board, and then we directly negotiate on a project-by-project basis. Any of those projects, of course, that are over the $150,000 threshold, we go before your board for authorization. And so we've broken down the below 150 and above threshold in the quarterly summary, which hopefully everybody has a handout to reference. So I'll go through that really quickly here. As I mentioned, we're getting close to 30% through the contract duration. We've budgeted or approved over $150,000, total amount of $5,500,098 and $266. That's an increase from $5,074,000 from the last quarterly update. And under $150,000 has not changed much. It hangs at the $277,000 mark right now. And of the total, 15,000 contract ceiling, we're about 5.9 million through, which tracks a little bit above the time expended to date. We're at about 39% expenditure to date relative to about 27% of the contract duration. One of the key reasons for that is we had a couple bigger than normal projects that were authorized by your board to execute through Cisco. So we have a momentary, difference, which should align as we go further through the contract duration. So we have a remaining balance of about 9.12 million. And going into the business inclusion utilization metrics, happy to report that for minority business enterprise, we have increased in 40% in just one quarter. And if you may recall, in the last quarterly update, we had a substantial increase in that quarter as well relative to when we started. And oftentimes, historically, on this project, we tend to catch up, toward the midpoint, toward the end. So for the MBE numbers, I have nothing but good news. We're well above the anticipated utilization by over a factor of 2 to date. Similarly, for the small business enterprise, our pledge goal from the contractor is 20%. We've increased from 5.3 last quarter to 10.4 for over doubling. So our trajectory on those metrics is excellent, and expect to experience similar trajectory over the next quarterly updates. As far as women business enterprise and disabled veterans and emerging, we are engaging the Cisco contractor to identify where we can increase those numbers and report better numbers in the next quarterly update. So we will, and sometimes it's inherent to the scope of work. We don't know what the scope of work is at the time of award. However, we may identify where we have some specialty or subcontractor work, and we may have worked with in the past, or through the board there are these outreach events that happen, I understand, every quarter, on a quarterly basis or so, where some new businesses or businesses that are looking to be certified under these business inclusion, under the program can see how to enter the program and how to work with the Cisco contractor to increase those numbers. Going into the 6 months look ahead for new projects, I've outlined those. We've got a little over half a dozen projects that expect to go before your board to award. And to further break down the numbers in terms of the expenditures to date and business inclusion program participation, there should be an accompanying spreadsheet that will be later be transmitted to your board formally later today, but provided an advance copy for the purposes of this report, which break down those numbers in further detail. And that concludes the staff report.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
Observation, I appreciate the effort for increase in this quarter for minority business inclusion, as well as our effort towards increasing small business enterprise inclusion as well. So thank you for that.
No further questions. This item will be received. Thank you, Mr. Cobb.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Campos, does this clear the desk?
Yes, it does.
And with that, we are adjourned. A very happy 48th birthday to Mayor Garcetti.